cue live recap of Friday Night Smackdown for March the 12th, 2021. Hard to believe 1 year ago was when everything shut down due to the COVID-19 pandemic. March the 13th of 2020 was the first Smackdown with an empty arena at the Performance Center. Here we are 1 year later, WWE at the Thunderdome. WWE has gotten things together with the television show during the pandemic. And we have WrestleMania coming up. Raymond James Stadium could be as many as 45,000 people, 75% capacity each night of WrestleMania. It's been a wild year for sure. But before WrestleMania, we have Fastlane. Fastlane is the final stop, the pit stop on the way to WrestleMania. And we had some build up towards that on this show. Shout out to the chat room. Shanti is here. Brandon, Mark, Daniel. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. How's it going, Matt Helms? Let's go ahead and get started with the recap. We opened, of course, with a recap of last week when Daniel Bryan beat Jey Uso in the steel cage match. We had Edge kick off SmackDown. And no, he did not talk about Christian going to AEW. He addressed Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan, the comments that they have made about him. And he said he needs to remind both both Reigns and Bryan, and the newer fan base for that matter, who the hell he is. He said that while Bryan and Reigns, they're wrestling maybe once a week, he was wrestling 6 to 7 times a week back in the day against tons of legends, from The Undertaker to The Rock to Terry Funk. He brought up all these different names. Now, of course, that's an unfair comparison because there is a pandemic right now. And yeah, everybody's wrestling once a week now because of that. We had Edge talk about how he's back because he loves wrestling. We had Daniel Bryan interrupt Edge, and Bryan said he respects Edge's career, but Bryan is going to do everything possible to get into the main event of WrestleMania. And Edge responded he was a little bit upset by Bryan interrupting him and saying all these things. And Edge said that he won the Rumble, a Rumble that Bryan was part of. He likes Bryan, but he doesn't like how Bryan is handling things. And that was our opening segment here, a little confrontation between Edge and Daniel Bryan. TJS with a $3 super chat. Thank you, TJS. He says, this WrestleMania has a lot of potential to be special, ? Well, yeah, it's going to be with fans. First ticketed WWE event with a live crowd since the pandemic started. And I'm sure WWE will go all out for WrestleMania and try to put out the most memorable show possible, especially when you don't know when the next show with a crowd will be. I'm guessing we're going to have Thunderdome shows after WrestleMania for at least several more months. Probably no shows with fans until the summer, maybe SummerSlam. It could be as late as SummerSlam. And who knows, maybe even SummerSlam, they might have to do something either at the Thunderdome again or do something with like a hybrid crowd. We'll have to see what they do. Hamp Connor with a $5 super chat says, did you just say Rumble? Did I? He says, I'm actually watching everybody's favorite movie, Ready to Rumble. Man, I haven't watched Ready to Rumble in a very long time. I have to say, if I'm going to watch something with David Arquette in it, I'll probably just stick with the Scream movies. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat. Oh, he wants to know about Andrade. He said to answer at the end. So we'll talk about Andrade at the end of the video. Stay tuned for that, because there is some news regarding that. We had our first match of the evening, which was an 8-man tag team match. The Street Profits and the Mysterios, Rey and Dominic, against Rudolph, Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler, and the Alpha Academy, Chad Gable and Otis. So Dolph Ziggler and Otis teaming up together. I guess Otis has completely forgiven Dolph Ziggler for all the horrible things he did. The bad guys jumped the good guys before the match. Dominic got worked over for a while. Dawkins tagged in, cleaned house for a bit. Ford was tagged in, went for the big frog splash, but Gable and Rude were able to stop it. And then Ford was beat down for a while. And eventually Rey Mysterio got the hot tag. Rey and Dominic hit a double 619 to Rude. And then Ford came off the top with the frog splash to pin Rude and pick up the victory. Match was entertaining. Pretty solid opener here for the pay-per-view. The Game is on 100 says, according to Biden, the pandemic will end by July 4th. Well, easier said than done. You know, they got to get those vaccines out. They can say all they want. We're going to have the vaccines out by May 1st, but until they actually get them out there so everybody that wants one can get one, I'll believe it when I see it. And Psycho Jet Black says, where is Tucker? Catering. Unfortunately, I do not think Tucker's going to be used again. I really hate to say it. I think he's pretty much done. He could be in the same category as Andrade and Aleister Black, which is unfortunate for all of them. Tucker is less surprising because his meal ticket was Otis. Once Otis and him split, that was pretty much the end for him. We had the announcement on SmackDown about Molly Holly going into the Hall of Fame. Again, a very cool reveal on the bump. And I think WWE should do this for all future Hall of Fame inductions. I'd like to see them get the news on camera for that big moment, although after so many times appearing on a show, you're going to start to wonder, wait a minute, am I being inducted into the Hall of Fame? And it won't be a surprise. So they could do it on occasion, though, and I think it would be a nice touch. We had Jey Uso backstage wanting to talk to Roman Reigns, but I guess since he failed last week, he has to wait. Paul Heyman said that Reigns was unavailable at the moment. We had Rollins backstage for an interview, and he was shown a recap of a few weeks ago when Cesaro did the big swing to Rollins. Rollins said he was just trying to help Cesaro, but he got disrespected in return. He said he's done with Cesaro. He doesn't want to hear anything more about him. As far as he's concerned, Cesaro is the biggest waste of potential in the history of WWE. And then Rollins was informed that there is going to be a rematch. Why would anybody be shocked about this? Rematches happen every week. Cesaro versus Murphy, rematch from last week. And suddenly, Rollins was intrigued about this. We had a pre-recorded video from earlier. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler took Reginald on a shopping spree. He tried on some different outfits, and Shayna was on her phone, bored as hell. Pretty much Shayna was, I think, all of us for this segment. And at the end, Reginald wanted to know, what can he do to repay Nia Jax? Talk about a storyline that I have, like, no interest in whatsoever. This Reginald Nia Jax thing, yuck. We had Cesaro versus Murphy. Rollins was watching on the stage. TGS says that Reginald is basically James Ellsworth. I guess so. And so did Brandon. I guess Reginald can do more flashy moves than Ellsworth, but that's about it. So Rollins was watching on the stage for Cesaro and Murphy. Not much to say about this match. It was fine, you know, just standard TV match. Cesaro was on the verge of winning with the big swing, and that's when Rollins came in for the DQ, hit not one but two curb stomps on Cesaro and said Cesaro will never be on his level. And then Rollins went to the back and encountered Shinsuke Nakamura. I guess we'll be seeing Shin versus Rollins at some point to set up Rollins versus Cesaro. So, yeah, Nakamura probably the fall guy to lead into WrestleMania, and then Cesaro will get the WrestleMania match. Johnny Boy with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Johnny Boy. Says, man, Cesaro and Rollins at Mania could tear the house down. Oh, I'm certain they will. I'm sure it will be a great match. And Brandon says maybe there will be a tag team match at Fastlane. Yeah, there could be. Murphy and Rollins against Cesaro and Shin. Shin will probably take the fall in that match. Well, maybe Murphy, more likely. Murphy, I think, would be the most likely, and then Shin would be next, obviously. And they could always do it where Rollins pins Cesaro, and then Cesaro wins at WrestleMania. 50-50 booking. But, yeah, I guess we could see a tag match. I would be fine with that. We had Sami Zayn approaching Kevin Owens backstage about wanting to have Owens join him, reunite, be part of his cause with the documentary crew, and Owens was basically just blowing him off, saying, yeah, he'll think about it. He had other things going on. He had the KO show, which we'll get to here in a minute. We had Edge talking to Jey Uso backstage, and Edge was talking about how he's known Reigns' family for a very long time. He wants to know what the hell is up with Jey Uso, and said that the Usos, they were two of the guys that woke him back up and got him motivated to return. And what does Rikishi think about all this? And Jey was very upset and said that Edge should be staying home with his family because at WrestleMania, Roman Reigns is going to take him out. We then had the KO show. Owens talked about how the last few months it's been tough on him, and got a $2 super chat here from Psycho Jet Black. Says, prediction, Daniel Bryan versus heel Kevin Owens at WrestleMania 37. I'm still thinking it's going to be Usos versus Bryan and KO, although now KO seems to be completely out of the storyline, so who knows what's going on with KO at this point. But he brought out Sasha and Bianca Belair for the KO show. Sasha's title almost fell to the ground again. She did catch it at the last second. And, basically the trash talking back and forth. Owens brought up how they could go into WrestleMania as tag team champions like John Cena and Shawn Michaels did back in the day. And Owens said maybe there's some underlying tension that they need to address. And Sasha just said she's going to be 2 belts Banks at WrestleMania after they beat Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. Bianca said that she admits Sasha paved the way for the women. However, Bianca said that she has paved her own lane. And this led to Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler interrupting, and we had a tag team match. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler were on commentary as Natalya and Tamina faced up against Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. Usual stuff here with Reginald being involved. He was up on the table. Sasha got in his face. Reginald ran into the ring. Everybody got distracted by this, but it was Tamina who took advantage. And Bianca Belair, the 2021 Royal Rumble winner, gets distracted. Stupid babyface gets rolled up by Tamina and loses. Tamina pins the Royal Rumble winner, the WrestleMania challenger. Why? I don't know. But hey, that's WWE for you. Saying it was pointless. Like, what does this accomplish? Nothing. Does Tamina get over from this? No. Does it do anything to build heat on Sasha and Bianca? Not really. The whole thing's about Reginald, and I don't care about Reginald. So I'm not feeling this storyline. I know a lot of people, especially on Twitter, love Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair, but this storyline is just shit, in my opinion. The Reginald thing is killing it. Elon Brown says they have booked this Sasha and Bianca feud so bad, and he says Tamina pinning Bianca, shaking my head. Greg says gotta keep Tamina strong. Yeah. And then, she'll be back to losing every week in a week or so. So anyways, backstage, Sasha Banks called Bianca a rookie for taking the L. Well, if that's the case, then the majority of the WWE babyface roster are a bunch of rookies because they're always getting pinned by the distraction finishes. Whatever. We had Big E make his big return and talked about how Apollo has opened Pandora's box and now he has to go Old Testament on Apollo. And they don't need to wait. He's ready to fight. He called out Apollo. Apollo no-showed. Big E decided to issue an open challenge. Baron Corbin, King Corbin, whatever, wearing his stupid crown with the suit, came out and said even though he's not dressed to compete, he would accept the challenge. But then at the last second, Sami Zayn ran down and stole the opportunity from King Corbin. Another storyline with Sami Zayn and King Corbin that I have no interest in. And Sami Zayn accepted the match, so it's Big E versus Sami Zayn yet again. And bottom line here, Big E picked up the win with the big ending. And then Big E heard Apollo's music, so he started looking around. But Apollo still managed to jump him from behind and took him out with not one, but 2 angle slams. You know, just like how Seth Rollins did 2 curb stomps earlier. And then Apollo used the steel steps once again. Angle was fine, but whatever. I wasn't really feeling it too much. Especially when they already did the Rollins beatdown on Cesaro, hitting his finisher twice. They basically did the same thing. And Elon Brown says that Big E cut a promo wanting to kill and hurt Apollo, but went to a commercial break with Sami. In my opinion, he should have squashed Sami. And Uthman says, will there ever be another King of the Ring so Corbin can lose this gimmick? I hope so, but I hope they do it on pay-per-view, King of the Ring pay-per-view. Yeah, the King Corbin stuff has long run its course, in my opinion. And then backstage, Reginald suggested that Nia Jax challenge Sasha Banks on next week's SmackDown for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Boy, oh boy, I'm so excited for that one. Yeah. Sasha Banks versus Nia Jax. Sign me up. Whatever. And we had our main event segment, which was a contract signing. Another contract signing. Roman Reigns sitting there at the end of the table. You know, they did that gimmick already, but we get a contract signing every month. So as long as Roman Reigns is a heel, we're going to be seeing this contract signing every month with Roman Reigns sitting there at the end of the table. And Reigns said he's not going to sign the contract. He doesn't want to fight Bryan. He already beat Bryan. Bryan, however, very excited, signed the contract and was in the process of provoking Roman Reigns by saying he proved he was better than Reigns by making Jey Uso quit. And maybe that makes Bryan the head of the table. He said he's going to tap out Roman Reigns. And at this point, Jey Uso flipped over the table, said that maybe he should be the special guest enforcer for the pay-per-view. And that's when Edge came down, challenged Jey Uso to a match on next week's show, which will be the first Edge match on SmackDown in over, 9 years, maybe 10 years? I think over a decade, yeah, because it's 2021. So yeah, roughly a decade since Edge last competed on SmackDown. And a big fight broke out with all 4 of them, but Edge shoved Bryan away as he was trying to get a piece of Reigns. And that's when Bryan came in with the running knee to Edge. And that was the end of SmackDown. I thought it was a pretty good ending. I'm not a fan of the contract signings, but I did like the ending and the setup for next week. Next week, other than the whole Nia Jax thing, looks to be an interesting edition of SmackDown. This SmackDown was okay. Wasn't anything special. I have to say, I've been pretty disappointed with SmackDown the last several weeks. They were doing so well the later part of 2020 once Reigns came back and through the end of the year. But yeah, the last month or two, the SmackDown shows have been okay, but like a definite step down in quality from several months ago, in my opinion. I'm going to give the show a C+. Maybe a tad slight above average, but it was a pretty lackluster show for SmackDown. Still not a bad show, though. TJS says, "Are you tired of Reigns?" Not tired of Reigns, but I want to see Jimmy come back. I want to see some story advancement with the bloodline and the faction, and they were doing some really interesting stuff with that. I guess the special enforcer thing is interesting, but yeah, I just think they gotta advance these storylines more. It just feels like it's on cruise control right now. Michael Wayne with a B-, MVP Kev with a C+, same thing from Matt Helms, Mohammed with a C, Ma with a C, Gamers on 100, and Brandon with a C+, CC Drink with a B-, and John with an A. And Mike says, "I give it a C overall, kind of meh." And Martin Cruz gives it a B. Amanda gives it a C. All right, so, and Brandon, Jimmy return at Fastlane. I'm hoping so. I would like to see it. I want to see the Usos compete at WrestleMania. Bryan and Kevin Owens makes logical sense in the storyline. See, what can happen is next week, maybe Edge wins the match, and then Edge is the enforcer, but then Jay tries to interfere. Edge cuts him off, but then when Edge isn't looking, Jimmy comes in and costs Bryan the title. Bryan needs a partner to take out the Usos. KO's been getting screwed by Jey Uso. Bam, you got your match for WrestleMania. But let's get to a few other topics here. Hamp Cano sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Hamp. He says, "What are some wrestlers still on the roster you feel should have been fired? Mine are Apollo, Gable, Elias, and that annoying idiot Baron Corbin." I do not want to see anybody lose their job. I've said this before. I don't want to see anybody get fired unless they actually do something that makes them deserve to be fired. Other than that, like, even if somebody's not my cup of tea, I don't want to see them lose their job. So I'm not going to answer that question. I think anybody that wants to leave WWE should be able to leave if they want to. And that brings me to Andrade. So apparently Andrade asked for his release. And can you really blame the guy? Like, he hasn't been on television since October. Charlotte, I believe, she said in an interview that she wanted to have Andrade with her on television. She pitched an idea and nothing came out of it. So Andrade reportedly asked for his release and got turned down. Why not just let the guy go? If he wants to work somewhere else, like, let him go to AEW. What's going to happen? They're going to do 750,000 viewers, 800,000 viewers. Andrade's not going to turn things around for AEW and take them to 1 million viewers. Let the guy go. Let him do his thing in AEW or AAA or any other promotion. Like, just let him go. He's a great athlete, but there's a lot of great athletes, and let the guy work. If he wants to work and you're not going to use him, just let him go. So we'll see what happens with Andrade, but my guess is he'll probably have to just sit out his contract, or if they do another spring cleaning, Andrade might end up being the next one to go. Shanti with a $5 super chat, and let me get to that in 1 second here. Let me finish off what Hamp was asking me about before, and I'll get to you in a second here, Shanti. Hamp with another $5 super chat. Thank you for that, by the way. I appreciate it. He says, "Okay, I'll ask another way. Who should they stop shoving down our throats because they just don't have what it takes?" Hard to answer, because I feel like everybody that's on Raw or SmackDown is there for a reason. They're really good in the ring, at the very least. Some of them are good on the mic. Some of them have interesting characters. But everybody that's there just isn't there because they they lucked into the spot. I mean, it does take some luck to get there, but all of them are really talented. You know, the cream rises to the top, and you have a lot of talented people there. As far as who's shoved down our throats at this point, I mean, I don't think there's any one person that's taking up more television time than he or she deserves. The only thing I'll say is I don't think Reginald should be in this storyline. Like, I guess somebody likes him right now, and the guy can do a lot of cool flips and stuff, but it's not helping this Sasha and Bianca storyline at all, in my opinion. So I guess to answer your question, they got to get Reginald out of this storyline. Find something else to do with him, or don't use him for now. And, you know, he's not a guy that's, like, been doing all these great matches in WWE. Like, Andrade, the guy proved in NXT he can go. And they just don't do anything with him. And Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat, thank you for that, says, wrestlers leaving WWE makes Vince look bad. Well, people come and go, you know. WWE is always bringing in new people. They end up having too many people under contract, and yeah, things happen, and you change out the roster, and you shuffle people around. That's how it's been going for decades now. So it's not going to hurt WWE if they cut some people. They have a ton of wrestlers under contract, and the name of the game is building new stars and bringing in fresh faces. So if they give up on somebody and they bring in somebody new, that's just the cycle of wrestling and television in general. You always got people coming in and out, and you're trying to keep things fresh. Got a $5 super chat here from Shanti, as I told him I would get to here. He says, off topic, MJF should name his faction the Outer Circle. Well, I'm not going to give away spoilers, but I will say this much. The new faction name is not the Outer Circle. I'd be okay with that, though. I think that would be amusing. However, they did not go with that. They gave a different name to the group. If you want to know the name of the group, and these spoilers are from the guy that's been spoiling all of the AEW shows, head over to NoDQ.com, and you can read the AEW Dynamite spoilers for next week. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I very much appreciate your viewership and support. If you liked this video, please give it a like, tell a friend, spread the word about NoDQ.com, and subscribe if you haven't already. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Stay safe, stay positive, but not COVID positive. And I will see you guys next time.